my dreaming of an aspect bright and fair. But in my sleeping, it was broken. But my dream, it lingered near. In the farmer, shining valleys, where the pure air recognized. All of my senses newly open, but I waking up to the cry that the people have the power to redeem the work of fools from the meek, the grace to shower. It's decreed the people rule. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Future became suspect and bending low as if to hear. When the armies ceased advancing because the people had their ear. And the shepherds and the soldiers, and they laid among the stars, exchanging visions, laying arms to waste in the dust, in the form of shining valleys, where the pure air recognized. In my senses newly open, I awaken to the cry. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Where there were deserts, I saw fountains like cream. The waters rise, and we strolled there together. Where no laugh or criticize. You're in the leopard, in the lamb, and lay together, truly bound. But I was hoping, in my hoping, to recall what I found. But I was dreaming, in my dreaming, God knows, a pure view. As I lay down into my sleep and I commit my dream to you. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Power to dream, to rule, to wrestle the earth from fools. When it's decreed that people rule, when it's decreed that people rule. And listen, I believe everything we dream can come to pass through our union. Oh, we can turn the world around. We can turn the earth's revolution. We have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. The power to dream, to rule, to wrestle the earth from fools. When it's decreed that people rule, when it's decreed that people rule. We have the power. We have the power. The people have the power. We have the power.
Xin chào các bạn. Hello friends and welcome to our AAPI rally and Vote 2020 Truth Squad training. My name is Jenny Bach, California Democratic Party Secretary. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us tonight. Voting is crucial this year, and we all know how much is on the line, from access to women's health care to immigration and the inhumane acts of ICE. And as community members are receiving their ballot and forming their voting plan, it's more important than ever that we provide the necessary tools to ensure that voters get their voices heard and their ballots safely delivered. And as we've been seeing and hearing, the California GOP has been accused of installing unofficial ballot drop-off boxes throughout our state. This is voter fraud and suppression, and we must do what we can to help voters by helping them check the right resources like vote.ca.gov before returning their ballots. That's why I'm excited to be here tonight with the CDP team, the API Caucus, the California High School Democrats, and California State Controller Betty Yee to talk about our in-language access resources and ways we can work together to help with voter outreach so that we can set the record straight. So my parents, who both voted for the first time in 2016, will be returning their ballots by mail this year. And for many years since they immigrated here from Vietnam, they were fearful of the voting process because they didn't know what that looked like, and also English is their second language. So over the years, they've really built up their confidence, and in 2016, we really worked together, and since then, I've been really helping to translate a lot of the political process for them. So stay tuned for Truth Squad training to learn more on how to make a voting plan with your own families this election cycle. And with that, I'd like to pass it to Joleen Bakalova, Chair of the AAPI Caucus at the High School Democrats of America and Vice Chair of the California High School Democrats. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Jenny. Like Jenny said, my name is Joleen Bakalova, and I work within high school organizing with Californian students as well as AAPI students. And it's really great to be here. And it's great to see everyone empowered and using their voices and doing what's right for our process. So, you know, we do have a huge potential and we do have the power to shift elections. And honestly, this is really great that you all are here, and, you know, we are a force to be reckoned with. So my family's from China. My parents immigrated in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And we've been not so great about voting, to be honest. And my family only started voting when I got them into it. And the first time my mom ever voted was in March of this year in the primary. So, you know, we do need our AAPI community leaders to get us where we need to be. And like you all know, every vote counts, and we get to determine the difference between a good future and a not so great one. So just as an AAPI person, I thank you for taking action in this election. But as an AAPI youth who can't vote yet or until 2023, I thank you for protecting my future and the future of my generation. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for having me.
So for our first video, we'd like to introduce Alan Ogoy, who is 19 years old and a freshman at Folsom Lake College in Folsom, California. Alan's family immigrated to the United States in the 90s to create a better life full of opportunity. He got into singing through watching Shrek and nonstop singing to any song that was on the radio. He's been studying voice with Bruce Walton at Sac Valley Vocals for about a year and has been taking singing lessons for the last 7 to 8 years, as well as performing for 6 years. Without further ado, we have Alan.
I still remember 3rd of December, me in your sweater. You said it looked better on me than it did you. Only if you knew how much I liked you. But I watch your eyes as she walks by. What a sight for sore eyes, brighter than a blue sky. She's got you mesmerized. Will I die? Why would you ever kiss me? I'm not even half as pretty. Gave her your sweater. It's just polyester, but you like it better. Wish I were Heather. Watch as she stands with her holding your hand. Put your arm around her shoulder. Now I'm getting colder, but how could I hate her? She's such an angel, but then again kinda wish she were dead as she walks by. What a sight for sore eyes, brighter than a blue sky. She's got you mesmerized. Well, I die. Why would you ever kiss me? I'm not even half as pretty. Gave her a sweater. It's just polyester, but you like it better. I wish I were Heather. Oh no. Why would you ever kiss me? I'm not even half as pretty. You gave her your sweater. It's just polyester, but you like it better. I wish I were.
That was such a beautiful performance by Sag Valley Vocals. 各位大家好, my name is Olivia Lee. I am the secretary for the Los Angeles County Democratic Party and also on the executive board for the California Democratic Party. I'm a proud first-generation American, and voting is a family affair at our house. In fact, I went over the ballot with my mom yesterday, and we all voted and dropped off our ballots over at the LA County Registrar's office yesterday evening. So I'm really excited for today's training and to see how much we can learn to help our communities. So it is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker. She's a badass leader in our great state. Controller Yi is a native of San Francisco and was born to immigrant parents who built a laundry and dry cleaning business. So she grew up speaking no English at home. After school, she worked the counter of her parents' small business, handling financial transactions with vendors, customers, banks, and government agencies. So for all of us who ever had to translate things for our parents, she absolutely understands how that is. The controller rose up from minding the books of the family business to minding the books for the 5th largest economy in the world. She has been an effective independent fiscal watchdog for California, focused on ensuring the security of our state finances. Since she was elected controller about 6 years ago, she has led audits of state and local government that uncovered over $4 billion in misused public funds. Our controller is also grassroots to her core. She's a longtime party activist and a huge supporter of the California Democratic Party. We are so lucky to have her representing us. Please help me welcome Controller Betty Yi.
各位朋友，大家好。Thank you, Olivia. Good evening, friends, and I hope you're all doing well. And I just shared a little bit of my broken Cantonese, but I'm just so happy to be here with this AAPI GOTV rally and really having all of you be recruited by the end of tonight to be part of our Vote 2020 Truth Squad. So you heard at the beginning of our evening tonight a song, one of the songs that I really like to listen to during this time. And it's People Have the Power by Patti Smith. And some of you will remember it as a protest song from the past, but this election is in our hands and we have the power to bring home the victory. From getting Joe Biden elected president, our very own Kamala Harris elected as vice president, all up and down the ticket, and all of the ballot measures that are on the ballot as well. But part of why we're all going to be part of the Truth Squad is, frankly, there are a lot of forces working against us to try to suppress the vote, as you heard Jenny speak about. And I just want to say for all of us as AAPIs, whether we're first generation Americans, whether we are immigrants ourselves, the vote is something so precious because it is really the most fundamental right that we could have that affects all of the rights. And so this is so important in the next 22 days to get out the vote, our own, our families, our neighbors, our communities, and do everything we can to be sure that everyone who is registered to vote is stepping up, getting their ballot, and they should be getting their ballot in the mail and voting. And why the Truth Squad for 2020? It's because there's so many more ways for voters to be able to cast their ballot. And we want to be sure, particularly during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, that ballots are being cast safely. And as you can imagine, we're hearing a lot about vote by mail, and there's frankly a lot of confusion about what that means. I just finished helping my 97-year-old mother fill out her ballot yesterday, and I was able to turn that in this morning. That this is, I think, what many of us in our AAPI community do, and that is to translate for our elders and to be sure that they can be part of the democratic process. And so, you know, when I think about this election, this is truly the election of our lifetime. We heard from our high school Democrats. We heard from our young talent with the Sacramento vocal group, and this is what this election's about. You know, we may think that we're casting a ballot for ourselves and asking others to cast the ballot for themselves as well, but this is about voting so that we can be sure that those who don't have the ability and the right to vote yet, that we are actually keeping their hopes and aspirations alive as well until they're able to exercise their own voice to vote. So when we talk about the Truth Squad, this is exactly what it means. We are going to be spreading the truth about how to vote safely, about what it means to have a mail-in ballot, where we turn those in to be sure that the ballots are counted, how we track our ballot, and more importantly, to be sure that we are just safeguarding our ballots so that we know that they're going to end up in the right hands with our county registrar's office and to be counted. And you're going to get a training about that shortly. But why this is important for this year, and I'm just going to say a few words about the AAPI community. We have been known as the sleeping giants in politics. And I'm just going to say in 2020, no more, no more. There was so much at stake for our community. And I don't know about you, but sometimes a little anger is a good motivator. But from the top of the ticket, I don't want any president of the United States talking about a global health pandemic and refer to it as being a China virus. Pandemics know no boundaries, and this is really misinformation and frankly, information that is about scaring people off. It's about discriminating against our own community. And we need leaders from the president and vice president all the way on down to our local elected offices who are going to be responsible, who are going to be embracing the diversity that is so great about our country, and particularly here in California, and more importantly, who are going to be truthful and base information and decisions on hard facts and science. And I know that for many of us in the AAPI community, we care a lot about our families. We care a lot about our communities. We work hard. We see our parents, and for me, I see so many so many immigrants just really work so hard, multiple jobs, to be able to provide a better life for their children and for their grandchildren. And this is what it's about. Who's going to actually help us really be able to climb those ladders of opportunity? Who's going to be able to just understand the plight of what our diverse AAPI communities experience every single day? And who's going to actually be able to create a future that's going to sustain not just our generation, but generations to come in terms of protecting our environment, being sure that we're tackling issues of poverty and looking at an economy that works for everybody. And so this is the election of our lifetime for so many reasons, And, you know, when I think about the Truth Squad, we're going to talk a lot about just different ways that we can help out. But first and foremost, I think most everybody's gotten their ballot or they've begun to drop. It's still not too late to register, to have people register to vote in our community. October 19th is the deadline to register to vote. We also know that there will be same-day voter registration as well that we'll talk a little bit about. But so there's so many tools and opportunities. And we also know that through the great work of our legislature, our governor, we have the ability to be sure that ballots can still be counted as long as they're turned in and postmarked by election night, that they can be counted up to 17 days after election day. So there was no excuse for not voting. No one gets to sit on the sidelines. And frankly, let's go and dispel the myth that the AAPI community is not the sleeping giant in politics, and that we're not just the margin of victory. We are going to be the victory. And this is, I've been working so hard as a grassroots activist most of my life, and this is a time that I have really worked hard to come to see. So many young talent, so many young activists, so many who have been part of this party for a long time, and it's going to take all of us. As Patti Smith says, people have the power, and the most fundamental power is to exercise our voice, and that is to vote. So please be sure that when you leave tonight that you have all of your questions answered. There are lots of resources available on the CDP website. But this is going to be just dispelling a lot of mistruths that you've been hearing, particularly about vote by mail. And but I don't know about you, but I was just incredulous that we were even having a discussion weeks ago where Republicans were just putting doubt in people's minds about the difference between an absentee ballot and a vote by mail ballot. And certainly what they've been trying to do with the US Postal Service is every part about just suppressing our voice and suppressing our vote. So let's be sure that we step up. Let's be sure that we're translating for our aunties and pawpaws, and be sure that we are casting every ballot for every registered voter, and that we're registering everyone who's still eligible to vote before the deadline next week. When we get to the other side on November 4th, I don't want to have any one of us regret that we didn't do that one extra step to get that extra vote in. We want people to vote early so we can start banking these votes and keep working it, keep working it, keep working it. So this is the election of our lifetime, and I know that come November 4th, we're going to feel good about what we did. But more importantly, 17 days after that, when we actually have all the ballots counted and when the vote is certified in December, we will be celebrating this hard work about how we are turning this country around, reclaiming our democracy, and AAPIs will have been so much at the heart of this victory. So let's go vote, let's go win, and let's show that AAPIs are strong and that we care about this democracy. We care about our great state of California. And for all of the young people out there who don't have the opportunity to vote yet, this is for you. So thank you, everyone. Let's go vote.
Well, it's thank you so much, Controller Betty Yee. You are such a trailblazer and an inspiration to the Asian Pacific Islander community. 各位大家好，皆様こんばんは. I am Council Member Shawn Kumagai from the City of Dublin, and I also serve as your California Democratic Party Asian Pacific Islander Northern Chair. On behalf of our statewide chair, Melissa Ramoso, and all of our board members, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for being at this training. Thank you for being activated. As Controller Yee said, we have been called the sleeping giants. We are not asleep anymore. The Asian Pacific Islander community is awake. We have lots of actions to do over the next few weeks to go on to victory, and we will elect Asian Pacific Islanders up and down the ballot, and we will elect Joe Biden and our first API Vice President, Kamala Harris. So please join us. Go to our Asian Pacific Islander Caucus Facebook page and our Facebook group. Join and follow. Check out AAPIs for Biden. We have a huge day of action coming up. And please do whatever you can. This is the final push. Give, volunteer, and let's go on to victory in November. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here with everybody today. So I do have a slide with me. If Moises, you can help share that slide. Awesome. Okay, so my name is Sherry Wanacott, and I am the Communications Director for the California Democratic Party. So today we all learned how confusing voting can be and can become with all the news occurring today and throughout the next few weeks. So I'm happy to be here with you all today to go over the communications portion of the training in 2020, talking about voting and vote by mail can be a little tricky, and I'm hoping to provide you with tools you need to have easy conversations with your friends, family, and neighbors about voting and vote by mail. Next slide, please. So we are the Vote 2020 Truth Squad, all of us, and we are here to help you combat the lies, confusion, and misinformation as we saw today about voting in 2020. So what we did was we conducted a research which included polling and focus groups, and our mission was initially to understand the current state of voting among new voters, communities of color, and underrepresented communities. And what we found out was that people want to know the truth about voting by mail. And the best tools to get that information is through Outreach Circle. It's an app you can put on your phone that will help you share correct information with your friends and family. But more about that a little bit later. And for folks who aren't interested in the Truth Squad work, you might also consider joining the voter protection team. These are volunteers who will staff a hotline starting October 16th until the polls close on Election Day. Next slide, please. So as soon as we found all this really great information, we took the next steps, and that was to tell the truth about vote by mail. Our job is to simply just tell the truth. So the goal today is to prepare you to have conversations about voting, vote by mail, with the people who are being targeted by voter suppression campaigns. And those are communities of color, hard to reach voters, and first-time voters. The mission is also to clear up confusion and misinformation about voting in 2020, and it's to prepare you on how to tell the truth about voting on social media platforms with your neighbors and friends. Next slide, please. So first, we want to go over the options of how you can vote this year. The first is voting by mail. This year, as you all know, the governor and state legislature directed that every voter in the state of California will receive a postage-paid vote-by-mail ballot to vote in the November election. Most of you have probably already gotten it, and so starting October 5th, voters would start receiving the ballot in the mail. And all you have to do to vote by mail is to complete your ballot, sign and date the envelope, and drop it in the mail at any U.S. Postal Service mailbox or post office. Your ballot must be postmarked on or before November 3rd. The second is using the ballot Dropbox, the official legal ballot Dropbox. Most counties are offering the ballot Dropbox as a way to vote in 2020. Voters who choose to use a Dropbox to vote early can sign, date, and drop off their ballots at an official ballot Dropbox without using the mail. So I can actually share the link to find where your official ballot Dropbox is located, or you can also check your county with your county registrar or visit the California Secretary of State's website. The third way to vote is provisionally. So on election day, any voter may go to a polling location and request a provisional ballot. A provisional ballot is a regular ballot that is placed in a special envelope prior to being put in the ballot box. This form of voting is a good option for voters who believe they are registered to vote, even though their names aren't on the official voter registration list at the polling place. Voters who have a vote by mail ballot, but instead wants to vote in person. Voters who received a vote by mail ballot, but lost or damaged their vote by mail ballot, and any voter who is just unsure about their voter registration for any reason. The fourth way is to vote at the polls or at vote centers on election day. So polls will be open on November 3rd from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please note that neighborhood polling places may be merged into several precincts in a larger building. Some counties will still assign you to a specific polling place, and some counties will provide vote centers, meaning that you can use any one of them in your counties. You can find out the location of your polling place or vote center on the California Secretary of State's website as well. And another way to vote is to vote early in person. In a lot of counties throughout the state offer early voting anywhere from 4 to 10 days before election day for registered voters. And that information can also be found on the California Secretary of State's website as well. Next slide, please. So what's the first key point to make about vote by mail? Well, it's that vote by mail is safe, reliable, and it's simple. Now, this isn't just an empty statement. It actually comes with a lot of data and research to back it up. Experts all agree that the vote by mail process results in secure and accurate elections. It's also one of the most common ways in California to vote. And guess what? Mail-in ballots have a unique barcode that's trackable through ballot tracks and goes through individual safeguard inspections, so voters can be confident that their ballots will be counted. Next slide, please. And the next key point to make is that vote by mail expands access to voting. So every year, millions of voters miss out on voting during election day because life can be a little unpredictable sometimes. And this year in 2020, the uncertainty level is at an all-time high. So vote by mail means that all of California has the opportunity to be heard and counted. Next slide, please. And speaking of this year, vote by mail protects you and your loved ones from being exposed to the coronavirus. With COVID-19 still around, the best way to protect ourselves and our loved ones is to avoid large crowds and long lines. Vote by mail allows you to choose both your health and voting. Next slide, please. So here are just some examples of things you should do during the conversations. Do talk about the positive things about voting. This is about protecting your right to vote while protecting your health. Do talk about how it's reliable, how it expands access to exercise voters' constitutional rights, and how it's important, especially during this time, to protect their loved ones from the coronavirus. Next slide, please. And some things that we'd like to avoid in all this, although it's been pretty tough, but we found that it's unproductive, is that it's not to force people to vote by mail. Some people just won't, and that's okay. And try to stay away from the whole Donald Trump conversation. I know that's a little hard this year because this isn't about Trump. It's simply just about voting for everyone. Please avoid saying that vote by mail is convenient. As we all know, communities of color and underserved communities have fought very hard for their right to vote. So aligning convenience with voting is just something that we try to avoid. Next slide, please. So what are some tools we're providing you here today? Well, we have a phone app that you can actually download called Outreach Circle. This provides you with all the information you need in order to deliver facts, share fact sheets, share information with your friends. We also have a landing page on our website, which you can pull information from. And in that toolkit, we have fact sheets about vote by mail, voting in general, and it comes in all different languages. We have Mandarin, Spanish, and we have a master Q&A. These are things that even to this day, I still use when I have questions from reporters. I go back to those materials. We have sample LTEs that you can send to your to editors at newspapers. And this can all be found on cadem.vote/toolkit, which I'll share at the end of this presentation as well. Next slide, please. So what's the next step and how can you help? We're super excited because when we first started this conversation, we had so many, and we continue to have so many people who are going onto our toolkit, downloading, resharing all of our materials. I've been getting a lot of great feedback on it, but some suggested way that you can help is to download Outreach Circle, which is the app that will help you easily share all of this information about voting in 2020. If you can't seem to somehow download the app, you can always help by resharing our vote by mail assets onto your social media. And if you want to text 5 of your friends tonight and send them the toolkit, that'd be great too. You can also host a training in your region, in which I'm happy to send this PowerPoint along with a script and the tools that you can then set up a Zoom training in your region. You can write letters to your editor, let them know why voting is important to you this year. You can also become a poll worker, but most of all, just please help us share the truth. As we found today, there is a big push against facts on voting this year, and we need all the voices. Next slide, please. So thank you so much for joining us today. Voting is so important, not just this year, but every year. On this slide, you'll see the information you need. The first is a toolkit that you can download online and our email address. The second is the Outreach Circle app, which is an app that helps you share information. We also have the QR code that you can use to download the app. And then we have the voter protection team hotline that you can volunteer and be a part of so that you can help out your community members during the voting process. All of this information is so important, so please help us share the truth. Thank you so much. Hey.
Hey, Sherry.
What's going on?
The voice of Vincent at the moment. We have a question for you.
Okay.
Someone wants to know, what do I do if I didn't receive my vote by mail ballot?
You can always contact your county registrar, and they can help you right away. And I can actually share the information in the chat box.
And I know you've been dealing with today the fake voting boxes that are being put up by the other party. If someone happens to put their ballot in one of those boxes by mistake, what can we do? Well,
the California Secretary of State today said that if you did put your mail-in ballot in those unofficial mailboxes, feel free to contact the California Secretary of State's office. I know they have a hotline in which I'm happy to share in the chat box as well. So.
And then the last question, oh, we have one more in the Q&A. Oh, no. Last question that I have for you, and then we can go to our, back to Jenny, so, you know, with Amazon, you can track your packages, you know, all the way from China in some cases until it gets to your door. Can you do that with your ballot?
Yes, you can. There is a ballot tracks. Every mail-in ballot has a unique barcode, and if you sign up for ballot tracks, which I will also share on the chat, you can then track your ballot from the time you send it in until the time it gets counted.
Okay, great. So let's see if anyone who's watching, if you have any questions, we'll give you a few more minutes to ask more questions. We have another one. Do I have to request a vote by mail ballot?
No, not in California. In some states, yes, but not in California.
Great. Okay, so I think those were all of our questions. Thank you for the great presentation. How can people get in touch with you if they want to give that presentation to their groups, their families, their churches, or whatever?
Yeah, I am adding my email address here so that you can contact me, and I will be happy to work with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cherry. Great presentation. Let's go back to Secretary Jenny Bach.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to all of our speakers, Joleen, Olivia, Shawn, Controller Betty Yee, and Sherry for our training. Also, a big shout out to our choir performances tonight. Before we end, I'd like to share a few upcoming events with all of you. So if you look in the chat, you can see we dropped a URL. So you can visit cadem.org/events or click the links being dropped in the chat for all of the exciting events coming up this week. You can RSVP directly by those links. So Wednesday, if you join this Wednesday's Voter Protection 101 at 6 p.m. with Kobe King, you can learn your rights as a voter in this training so you can support your friends and family in protecting their right to vote in this important election. On Saturday, we have a Viva Democrats GOTV Rally and Vote 2020 Truth Squad training from 11 to 12 at noon. So join the Vote 2020 Truth Squad to combat disinformation and share the facts about voting with your friends and family, similar to the training that Sherry gave tonight. This event will be live interpreted in English and Spanish. The following Tuesday, we're going to have Black Votes Matter, a GOTV Rally and Vote 2020 Truth Squad training from 6 to 7 p.m. So again, visit cadem.org/events to register for all of these exciting opportunities. Now, I'd like to introduce another wonderful performance we have from the Sac Valley Choir. Sophia Chang is 16 years old and a sophomore at Franklin High School in Elk Grove, California. Sophia's parents immigrated from their home country of China to the United States in the early 2000s. She's the oldest of 3 children and was born in New York City. Sophia has been taking voice lessons for 4 years, and the last 2 years have been with Bruce at Sac Valley Vocals. Sophia's proudest musical accomplishment to date is that she placed in the top 5 in an international singing competition called Sing China over quarantine, thus earning an invitation to Australia's 2021 Chinese Film Festival. So let's give it up for Sophia.
I will leave my heart at the door. I won't say a word. They've all been said before, you know. Why don't we just play and pretend like we're not scared of what is coming next? We're scared of having nothing left to look toward. Get me from I know there is no tomorrow. is if this is my last night with you. Hold me like I'm more than just a friend. Give me a memory I can use. Take me by the hand while we do what lovers do. It matters how this ends. 'Cause what if I never love again? I don't need your honesty. It's already in your eyes. And I'm sure my eyes, they speak for me. No one knows me like you do. And since you're the only one that matters, tell me, who do I run to? And give me from I know there is no tomorrow. All I ask is if this is my last night with you. Hold me like I'm more than just a friend. Give me a memory I can use. Take me by the hand while we do what lovers do. It matters how this ends. 'Cause what if I never love again? Let this be our lesson in love. Let this be the way we remember us. But